You've talked a lot about this, the student section this year. What are your thoughts about Luke Radcliffe?
Oh, yeah. Luke, is that Fluff, Fluffopotamus?
Yeah.
That's I just know him as Fluff. That's shoot, he's great. I mean, we'll be in shoot around, and he's, it might be a 6 o'clock game. We're doing shoot around at 12 or 1, and he's already there setting up. I think he might be in the day before setting up sometimes. So, yeah, he's great. And then he stays for a long time after the games. Then you see him up on the road. He was at the Auburn game, saw him up at Vanderbilt. I don't know if he misses any road games. So he's dedicated. It's great when you got somebody as dedicated as him that's kind of rallying the troops. So I think he's done a great job this year.
We were just talking with Clark and Herb a little bit. Just how do you feel that Herb has come along so quickly? And you call him a warrior, but when you really think about how quickly he's progressed to get to this point, what does it tell you?
Well, I think it means a lot to him to play with his teammates. I mean, he really doesn't care about personal stuff that much. I mean, you can tell it. I mean, he's willing to go in, play D, come out on offense, go in, play D, come out on offense. Knows where his true value is with this team right now. So he wanted to get back as soon as he could. He spent long hours with Clark he got back faster than anybody thought he would, because I think he got back faster than Dante Hall did, if I remember right. And Dante was a center, and Herb played more, on the perimeter. So he was really in working with Clark, working, with assistance on his right-hand skill development, so he could at least give us something offensively when he's in there. And I think he's done a great job since he's been back. So hopefully they can continue to progress him, and he can start to use his left hand here pretty soon.
You said a couple times you need enough wins. When you're talking about making your own luck, what is enough wins for you? Is there a number that you kind of think that if we get to this amount?
I mean, what are we at? I don't even know what our record
14.
is right now.
14-11.
We have 14 right now with 6 to go.
Yeah.
If we get to 20, we're in. So if we go 6
There you
and 0,
go.
we're in. 18, 19, and then I think depending on how other bubble teams do and how some of the teams we played, and this is the crazy thing, like, let's control what we can control. Some of this is going to be, how does a Penn play? Does that loss end up being quad 4 or quad 3? How does a North Carolina play? Who would have thought that would be a bad loss for us right now? How does some of those teams we played early in the year end up shaking out? Even like an LSU or Auburn, like, where do they shake out? Because those are both home wins. If they end up not being in the top 30, that's not a quad 1 win anymore. So some of that goes into play. Like, we're going to control what we can control. We're going to try to win as many as we can these last 6. And then you got to go to Nashville and win as many as you can there, and, trust that our work that we've done. And they also say that they're going to look at injuries. Well, we lost Arkansas and Tennessee without her. We played without her being 100% for a month or so, back in November. So got to look at some of that. And now we're getting healthy. Everybody is playing. And they also look at how you finish the year. So how do we finish these next 6 games? I think they're supposed to take a team that's hot in February, March over a team that got all their quality wins back in November, December. So hopefully we are hot February and March. Hopefully we've done enough when it comes time on Selection Sunday that we're playing in the tournament. I know our guys that have played in it want to be there. Those that haven't played in it really don't know how big it is, but they want to be in it. And I've coached in it 4 out of the last 5 years, 3 out of the last 4 as a head coach. It's a big deal. And we want to be there.
You mentioned North Carolina, Kentucky. It seems like the normal elite upper echelon teams that dominate most years aren't necessarily having that much success this year, at least comparably. How much parity is there out there right now? How much do you think that could maybe help a team like Alabama?
I mean, it can either help or hurt. I mean, there is a lot of parity. I mean, you look at how many different teams went through the number 1 spot, even in the top 10, how many have been there in the top 25. But also, I mean, there's a lot of teams kind of in that 40 to 60 range where we're going to be competing with kind of on the bubble. So, look, I'll say this. It means teams that maybe are on the bubble or out of the tournament right now could go in and make a run in the tournament because of the parity. I think it speaks to what you're able to do if you can get into the tournament, but we got to get in first.
So you mentioned having
to play without her being 100% for parts of this year? I mean, with this specific injury, what's your feel for when you could potentially have him back to 100%?
Clark thinks he's got to go 2 more games with the cast that he's got now, and then they can ratchet it down to Clark, I believe, came in and talked to you guys. I don't know if you guys asked him all that stuff. He's got better answers than that, but the info I've got from him, I think it's 2 more games with what he's got now. Go to a much more, where he can move it more, to where he can use his left hand a little bit more from there, and then hopefully a few more weeks. And I don't know if we'll ever get to where he doesn't have anything this year, but we'll at least be much less restrictive than we are now as we kind of couple weeks get to where we're in the SEC tournament, the NCAA tournament.
That's Herb, but what were you thinking when he stepped up to the line for those free throws? Was there any confidence?
I was thinking, man, I know he's been in the gym a lot shooting them. Hopefully he steps up and splits this thing, goes 1 out of 2. That'd be big because they'd go from 2 to 3. So, when he went 2 for 2, I was fired up, and the last one was a swish. That was big.
Texas A&M would like to play a little different tempo than you like to play.
Yeah.
How does that get settled? What do you see from them? They'd rather throw it into Nebo, have him go to the free throw line.
Yeah, I mean, they're a heavy post-up team, and Nebo's getting a bulk of that, but they'll even post up some of their 3s, 4s. Yeah, flag posts, Miller posts. So they're going to more walk it up if they don't have, they're good in transition off their steals, and they're number 1 in turning people over. If they don't have a readily apparent transition opportunity, they're going to walk it up, pound in the post, try to beat you up. I mean, they're a tough, hard-nosed team. We want to be tough and hard-nosed, but obviously we're trying to run. So we're going to have to get stops. If we can get stops, I think we can run on them. If we're not getting stops, they're living at the free throw line with Nebo and Flag and Miller and whoever getting the free throw line consistently, and their defense is always set. I mean, they do their kind of 3/4 court press that slows the game down, a lot, and then they get back and they're really don't let the ball get, they don't let you drive the ball in the paint at all. I mean, they're shrunk in so hard, so they turn people over. If we're not able to play in transition against them, it's going to be a lot harder on us offensively. If we can get stops and get out in transition, I think we'll be all right. But that's a lot easier said than done with how they play. And our bigs really got to step up on some of their bigs. Our guards got to stay in front of their guards too, and give our bigs some help when needed.
And are they sort of on the same mark that probably happens with first-year coaches, where they're better now than they were?
They're a lot better now than they were in November. I mean, I think Buzz has done a really good job. I mean, if you look at some of their games back in November, December, I run into him on a recruiting trip up in New England back in, I think it was November, and he was really down on his team. I think they look a lot better now to me than they did. We haven't gotten to see them a whole lot. They haven't played too many teams that we've had recently. It's just some teams, it seems like every team you play, they just played them in their last 2 games. You get to see them a bunch. This is one of those I haven't seen a bunch, so when I got to them, they're a lot better. They're 6-6 in the league. They're the same record we are. So, all the Ken Pom and numbers, like that stuff goes all the way back. This is a completely different team from November and even December to what they are right now. So we're going to have our hands full. I mean, they went in, won at Tennessee. I mean, they've won games that we've lost. So they're a quality team that we're going to play well.
One or 2 more questions here.
How impressive was it just overall what he did the other day, and whether it was during the game or watching film of the game, did it ever reach a point where you were watching and just saw him doing stuff and said to somebody else, like, damn, like this is really impressive?
You know what? I didn't realize he had as many rebounds as he did during the game. I was just watching, and Herb was doing Herb things, and all of a sudden, I think we got late in the game, and one of my assistants said, Herb's got 13, 14 rebounds, one of those media timeouts. I said, what? So I didn't realize it. As I watched the game and just saw him, he just kept gobbling up rebounds. I was excited. Still watching the game on video. Then you hear the crowd. A lot of times I won't watch the game with any sound on. The announcers tend to distract you from what you're supposed to be looking at as a coach. But I turned the sound up on some of that to hear the crowd and how much they kind of wanted me to go back to a spot in the game where you get goosebumps and you're thinking about how great it was, especially in those last few minutes. I mean, he's in there. The free throws were the big thing to me, and then the crowd recognized how valuable he was to us with just how they cheered for some of his plays there late in the game.
Shackelford had a big week for you guys last week. Just have you seen him get more comfortable and confident since you got here?
Yeah, I think he's figuring out how we want him to play a lot more. He's taking better shots, driving the ball more instead of settling for contested threes like he had been earlier. I think he's getting to the free throw line better. He's becoming, I don't ever want to say he was one-dimensional, but he definitely was shooting a lot more threes than he was anything else. And when he's driving, he's able to actually make the right reads a lot better. I think he's growing a lot. I think he's been in the gym a lot. He wants to be great. He's coachable. He's asking us the right questions in video and outside of video, like what, should he have done this, should he have done that? Like he's a really good kid. So I think proud of the way he's come. It's great. He's got freshman of the week and Kyrie got player of the week, both in the same weeks. I guess it's the first time in school history that we swept those awards. So it was good. Those two guys, kind of your starting backcourt played really well this past week.
Alex, did you have one more?
Yeah, yesterday on TV, you talked about the message to the team now, 6-6 with 6 games left. You actually made a comparison to Auburn last year and what they did. I guess how much can you see what they did, kind of maybe put aside the rivalry, and utilize that as kind of a, hey, look at this.
Well, I talked to them a couple of weeks ago, and you know what? It is a rivalry. Like I get it, but like you learn lessons from anybody. So they were 6-6, 2/3 of the way through conference play last year. So I asked our guys in video a couple of weeks ago, like who had the best SEC, in the SEC, who had the best season last year? Immediately somebody said LSU. I said they won the regular season. I said who had the best overall season, start to finish? When college basketball finishes in April, and it's obvious it was Auburn. They went to the Final Four. I said, does anyone happen to know what Auburn's record was after 12 games? I think this might have been after our 10th or 11th game. Somebody in there was smart enough to know that they were 6-6. I said, well, it might have been before the LSU game. I think it was. I said, let's get to 6-6, and then see what we can do, in the last third of the conference play. So we got to 6-6. Now let's see what we can do. I'm not saying we're necessarily a Final Four team or anything like that, but like they were 6-6, and they went on a big run and didn't lose many games. I don't know if they lost any. Yeah, but so one. Oh, that's right. They went to 7-7. They were 6-6, split, and then went on a big tear after that. So, why can't we do the same thing? Like the schedule's set up, they're all losable games we're playing, but they're all winnable games too. So every last one of our last 6 games are winnable games, and if we don't play well, they're losable games. So let's get ourselves locked in. Let's go on been talking about a 3-week sprint here to the end of the season. Do everything we possibly can to get in the gym on your own, study a little extra film. Everybody do a little bit extra and see if we can push ourselves over the edge and start winning the close games that we were losing and go on a run here to finish the year out.
All right, thank you.